Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. This episode is also brought to you by Monopool, a fast-growing marketplace for Magic the Gathering that makes buying and selling cards easy. Their optimizer helps you get the best value when buying cards, and their team is focused on making it a great experience for buyers and sellers alike. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShivanB. And now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Quiver and Monopool and my patrons at patreon.com/ShivanB. Today this is a weird one. I guess most of my shows are both either exciting or weird, so I guess you gotta split the difference. But I discovered randomly while I was browsing the internet that someone was like, "Hey, Shivam, you should have the developers behind Caves of Qud on your show because they play Magic and talk about it." And I'm like, I'm down, but I haven't played the game. So I went and bought the game and I played it. And I was like, oh, okay, so I do need to talk to these guys because this is really cool. So today I have the developers of parts of the development team, the co-founders of the studio that created the award-winning indie roguelike Caves of Qud. Brian and Jason, I forgot to look up your last names, and I don't think it really matters. But hey, guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us. We're happy to be here. We're happy to talk about if there's one thing we like to talk about more than Caves of Qud, I think it's Magic the Gathering.
Way more than Caves of Qud. I would rather talk about Magic all day.
Conveniently, that's exactly what I do. Oh my God. It's funny. I'm in a bunch of private group chats with my friends, DMs stuff on Discord. And every now and then, they'll start talking about Magic and then they'll always be apologetic. Like, Shivam, I know this is your job. I'm sorry, but can you help me with this deck? Or hey, what do you think about this idea? And I'm like, okay, I'm not on the clock, guys, but okay. But yeah, in prep for this though, I started playing your game, it feels to me, and this is a sign of how old I am. It feels to me exactly like what it felt like playing Ultima or ZZT on an old monochrome green monitor back in 1987 or something like that. With that same vibe of old shareware games where you bump into an enemy and it kills you and you die and you're like, well, what the hell just happened? And then you drink a potion and you turn into a frog, or you dissolve into space, or everything turns into fire. And I was like, holy crap, this is a visceral flashback to something I had totally forgotten that was a big part of my childhood. Hell of a game, guys.
Thanks. That era was a big inspiration to me. I think especially early on when the genre format hadn't really shaken out, every game was this just weird little gremlin and you were never quite sure what was going to happen. And the interface was a little different and all of the monsters were a little different. And I really miss that era of video games. Everything's so sleek and known that you don't feel surprised when you sit down in front of a video game very often. And so
the biggest feeling I got from your game was missing the fact that old video game boxes used to come with little plastic cards that had keyboard maps that would tell you what all the hotkeys do.
Exactly.
Because I keep trying to use the WASD controls to move my guy around, and every time I do, they're like, "Would you like to take a staircase down?" I'm like, "No, don't do that," or whatever. And so I've had to. It's like using an old muscle memory from a long time ago of oh, I have to move my keyboard this way so that my right hand is on the numpad instead of on my left hand and my right hand on the mouse. And I haven't played like that in so long. And I was like, holy crap, this is it's like Civilization 1 or something. It's like old days. But yeah, that's really sick. I don't know how I'm going to get from that to Magic, but I want to talk more about Qud first because this game is wild. And because I've been playing it a lot in preparation for this, your game is impenetrable. And it's impenetrable in the way that getting past a floppy disk from your friend in 4th grade and putting it in going, what the hell is going on, was impenetrable. It reminds me of, and I'm going to tell a story real quick. I'm sorry, this is a Shivam storytelling show. But when I got Civilization 1, which is my one of my favorite games of all time, and I played like every Civ game, and the first Civ game I got was a bootleg that I got off of my friend in like 6th grade or like 5th grade or whatever on a floppy disk. I put it in and it was a corrupted bootleg, so half the graphics were missing. So it was just like blocks of purple and red lines that were kind of going by, and I didn't have a manual. And Civ is obviously one of the most obtuse games of all time if you don't know what you're doing. And I'm just like playing this game and like forcing my way through it, going like, okay, well, when that guy's got a frowny face, my town lights on fire. That's bad. And it's just like playing this just makes me feel like I was 12 again and going like, oh, if I touch this, bad things happen to me. And then I'm just like, I've got like 2 windows open that are like intro facts somebody wrote, and I got like a mod that teaches you how to like move. But I've just like, it's look, I've been in the game business for a long time. I worked at PlayStation. I used to be for a decade like a game journalist and reviewer. I've played hundreds of thousands of games or whatever. It has been a long time since I've played a game where I was just like completely back to square one. And that's a wild feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely like dovetailing with what Brian was saying of like kind of trying to evoke an era when the possibilities of what happened when you booted up a game were really much broader before things kind of narrowed down due to industry pressures and what have you.
Yeah.
And also just like, we just really love that. Like we love, I think a big thing about our world building, which, it's a science fantasy game. There's a lot of world building. And is, I think what it feels like to be in the world often is to be disoriented, is to not have everything signposted for you. And we really love to evoke that feeling and to disorient you and to make you feel like kind of dissolve the boundaries of what's possible. So you're always questioning like, what is this game? How deep does it go? Right.
I can dovetail this to Magic, because this feeling to me is a feeling that you got in the era of the 90s where a game even as simple as Civilization you could boot up. You didn't have the internet, right? You couldn't go online and read a bunch of other people's experiences and formulate how you feel about a game long before you've ever even seen a single frame of it based on, third-party reactions to reactions. Back then, I remember there being rumors of Magic sets across the town, right? Like rumors of the kinds of cards, because there's no central authority, right? Like there's flyers that might be printed out at a card store, right? Who knows what cards are in Alpha?
Oh yeah,
right. Like there could be any cards in Alpha because the information is just so out there.
Yeah, and like they didn't give you rarities, and the magazines were just kind of guessing.
Yeah,
and every game you sat down to play.
That's so true. I forgot that. Why do they put rarities on cards?
I remember like we had this in middle school. My friend had this like third-party book. I forgot what it's called, but it would list the rarities of the cards. I don't know, but it said for Alpha Beta Unlimited, it had rare and then rare plus, which it only gave to Black Lotus and North Star. And I don't know how they arrived at this conclusion. And so we like North Star this gilded order to me for a while because of that.
Well, actually, Jason, I think you might need to lower your gain a bit. You are flatlining. Yeah. But yeah, it's like it was wild because I started playing in 1994, which is like the second year of Magic. And even then, Legends had like sold out. Yep. And so people would be talking about like this mythical set that was out 3 months ago. And they were like, we've never seen any cards from it, but it's got all these gold cards that you can play 2 colors to play. And I'm like, you are lying through your teeth, bro. Like that is impossible. They would never make you play 2 colors to Modern. But it's just like, like every time you would sit down to play, people would pull out cards and you'd be like, I don't know what the hell is an ATOG? What do you mean you're eating your ornithopter? I don't understand. What just happened? Dude, the first time I ever saw a combo in Magic, we were sitting there in my high school. We were playing a 12-way game of Magic because 90s. And my friend sits down with his deck and he puts down Enduring Renewal, which is a card that says, show your hand to everybody. And if a card goes from the play to the graveyard, it comes back to your hand. Right. And then he played Ashnod's Altar. And I'm like, okay, cool. Sack an artifact, get 2 mana, whatever. And then he plays Ornithopter. And I'm like, So he sacks Ornithopter to the altar, comes back to his hand, plays it again 4 million times, fireballs the whole table. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? What just happened? There's 12 of us. How did this happen? and I had reverse damage and I survived. And then he did it again and I died. But
I was an enduring renewal fiend back in the. That was one of my
favorite cards.
Yeah, I love those early combo cards.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and you're just like, and every day you would sit down, and you're like, somebody put these two cards together in a way that does not inherently make any sense at all, and you're like, what the hell? I miss that.
I remember the first time I saw Prost Bloom, like the whole deck in action. It's just like such a beautiful little.
Oh my god, that one of the it's you sit there because it's so counterintuitive. You're like, sacrifice all your lands to generate a bunch of mana. What? Why are you doing that? Yeah, Prost Bloom is. I've been trying to rebuild Prost Bloom in Commander for a long time, just because I miss that era of utter ridiculousness. Prosperity and like Cadaverous Bloom and just mill the hell. God, man, Magic was so cool when you didn't know what was going on.
It really was. What was Tooth and Nail in the same era? I feel like it
was a little later. A little later.
Like 3 or 4. It's funny, like it feels like in the time it felt like it was like a decade later, but it was like just like 2 or 3 years later. But now in hindsight, it's like, oh my god, we got a lot of Magic in those few short years.
We really did.
Well, that's the thing. I think Brian and I, we played a lot in middle high school. So this was back probably just after you. Maybe Brian started around when you did.
I started right around then.
Yeah, I think I started right as Fallen Empires came out, and then I went to college. We dropped off a bit. We came back to it pretty hard in end of Mirrodin Kamigawa era, and then
did you guys like grow up together and play in like kids?
Oh yeah. I think the first day I met Brian, I had just been to the mall, talking about like not knowing what type of cards. For some reason, the mall that day, Sawgrass Mills Mall, which is this giant outlet mall in South Florida, had all these vendors set up, like kind of like within the mall. It was kind of like a little like freestanding market. One of them was a Magic vendor who was selling like packs of antiquities. And it was like, what? This was like, even then it was like, that's incredible. He also just had some singles. He had a Divine Intervention. I bought the Divine Intervention. I bought a pack of Revise and got a fork and was really disappointed. But then my friend was like, no, that's actually one of the best cards, and traded that for amazing. Yeah. And then that night I came over, and I knew of Brian because I went to school with his sister, and like I knew the rumor was he was collecting Legends. He was slowly collecting the set of Legends, which was like this ridiculous, ambitious goal. And I had this Divine Intervention. So the first, like I walked in and the first interaction we had was this extremely involved, complicated trade where I lost my Divine Intervention, got a bunch of junk in return. I still maintain I got ripped off in that trade, but we'll have to
still have that Divine Intervention. Still have that Divine Intervention. Absolutely. Nice. And we were like 15 and 13 at that time or something
like that. Yeah.
Maybe younger than that.
That's it's. Everybody's got a story of that first bad trade they make where it's like, oh yeah, I traded my, my Tundra for a bunch of like Sarah Angels or whatever. And then it's rare that you're still friends with the guy that you made the bad trade with 40 years later.
We got better at it. Eventually like Jason and another one of our friends acquired a Black Lotus, at the mall. And
at the
mall, I don't remember. Somebody was selling it and they got it, right. It was a lot, and I was like, I want that card, and I will trade it. And we all afternoon we worked to establish a trade, and it was like 20 dual lands and a bunch of other stuff. And the funniest thing is that still, 30 years later, that trade is almost exactly equitable. Like dollar for dollar, the trade is held up across card inflation over 30 years, and it's kind of incredible. We still go back and look at the results of that trade.
That's unbelievably funny to me.
Yeah, it was good. It's also maybe the worst conditioned Lotus ever seen, which is still a Lotus.
Yeah, Lotus, man.
I still have that card too. I got it signed by Chris Rush when he came by a Magic store, and so I've got the most heavily played Lotus of all time signed somewhere in a deck somewhere.
It's funny because like someone posted like, oh yeah, man, when I was 12, a Lotus was $40, totally out of my league. Now I'm 40 and a Lotus is like $40,000, still totally out of my league.
It's exactly as much as like a Mox Sapphire is exactly, like 20% more than I want to pay to own one. and always has been since I was 15 years old, no matter how much money I made.
Right.
It's incredible. I mean, it's like an exact curve.
Like, I have so many random ridiculous. Hang on, since we're talking about Legend, I'm going to show you my most prized possession. Give me 1 second. I show this to everybody. This is a playtest Jeddah Ojanen, the original Legends Jeddah Ojanen, from the original Legends designer's first handmade version of the game.
Cool.
So it's like literally the only original preprint Jeddah that exists.
That's amazing.
Because I'm like, you know what, man? I can't own a Lotus, but what if I could also own just like a one of one that nobody else has? And I'm like, that's sick. How about my favorite card in the history of Magic, except the playtest version?
Nice.
I mean, there are thousands of Lotuses. There's only one of those.
But there's only one of these guys. Someday I'll have a Lotus. My wife is like, yeah, enjoy it by yourself after I divorce you. But yeah, so like you guys, it feels like there's like at least some level of magic in your game design, but like, because like, I mean, not just a random monster driver, but I remember, Brian, you were saying something about like the nature of how like Magic is like basically a software design that has been like forced into a game somehow and managed to survive this long.
This is something I was thinking about. I was talking about it on Blue Sky the other day with a few designers, and one of them was like, Magic's just the greatest design. And it struck me that I had never really thought about Magic in terms of just being the best designed game. And I was like, why don't I think that? Right? Like what is it about the design that is making me just kind of like look sideways from it? And I realized that a lot of its behavior just feels like basic software engineering to me, where you play a thing and you set up triggers and an event goes off and things respond to it. And that's the way you build software. But the truth is that doing that in a way that works inside of a card game easily, where a bunch of 14-year-olds can do that and it makes sense to them, that's like profound genius, really. Because it's one thing to say I'm going to make programming a game. It's another thing to, I think Magic is the most, like, Richard Garfield also did like Robo Rally and a couple other games that were inspired by programming, but more directly it felt like, I feel like Magic right from the get-go was the best implementation of it. Though I do think that the digital form of Magic, which happened very early, even the earliest Chandelier game was amazing. Chandelier, rather. Like that game was amazing, and I think the fact that Magic existed digitally for so long helped shape the rules so that they could exist digitally. And existing in paper meant that it had to be playable on the tabletop as well. And those things came together to just make it really is a deeply ingenious game design to pull that off.
Yeah, because like it struck me like even the vocabulary they use, like the original version of Magic used batch attacking instead of, and then later on they changed it to the stack. And I'm like, these are all Apple programming concepts, right? And I think the real genius is taking what is effectively a design-year-old program, because I mean, you've seen people like there's scientists on YouTube who've gone and like turned Magic into like an adding and subtracting machine, like a Turing complete machine that you can do and use to program with based on how the combo plays out. And I'm like, that taking this incredibly complicated like software engine and then wrapping it in like flavor to make it palatable to like normal people is the real genius of it. It's like you're taking the STEM core and then shoving it in a liberal arts education, and like it ends up being this like, because like when I'm a kid, I'm just like, ooh, look, I'm throwing a fireball at a dragon. When I'm an adult, I'm like, ooh, look, I'm making these numbers go up and down in a systemic way that will allow me to combo off with this, like order of operations that will then kill 14 people or whatever,
I think it is interesting though, because it's a particular fantasy of spell casting, right? In like D&D, there's a bunch of different kinds of spellcasters, right? There's wizards and there's sorcerers and there's priests, right? I think Magic is an embodiment of a particular sciencey kind of magic that works because it kind of melds with a particular fantasy of magic. One of them. It does make me think like it would be interesting to, work on a card game design that embodied other fantasies of Magic, right? Like if this is the wizardry technology version of
What is the
spellcasting,
cleric version of Magic?
yeah, what is it to really feel like you're asking a god for help, right? As a priest, or treating with a demon, right? That isn't so much about like sewing together a very complicated science of magic. I don't know.
That's a fascinating idea, because like for me, like getting into Magic, the whole theming of it was the big deal. Like the original revised starter deck was a book, and there was a little red bookmark that was tabbed in the top to show you where like your page is leaving, and you play lands and you're drawing from this memory of these places you've been to generate a well of power by which you can summon these shades of things you've encountered in your life. And I was like, that is it's one of my great regrets in Magic is like abandoned that fantasy, but like it's in favor of, Planeswalker and all this other stuff. But I'm like, dude, the idea of collecting this whole body of knowledge and then just building this system to draw upon to be able to I mean, it was elegant and cool, and it made sense, and it really sold the game to me, I think.
And there was such a like powerful aura around the deck, the idea of the deck, because there was no deck building game yet, and like the assembling of the deck from these disparate cards that you just have heard about and traded at your, with the kid you met, across the across town. Like there was really was this like sort of aura laden like experience, and to bring it back also to just the effect it had on our design. I think it's deeply run through because we do a lot of what's called procedural generation, where we kind of recombine elements in ways that are unexpected, because we like our own game to surprise us.
Yes,
so there's all this, we call it random generation, but there's also usually some type of logic behind it. But really, I mean, one of the first ways that I connected with that type of design is through CCGs and Magic in particular, because the deck, the kind of modularity of like having a card that has a little bit of game logic on it and then mixing it all together and then drawing a sort of random assortment of that and thinking through the how that combination produces a really specific and often never seen before result is very much kind of trained me to design for those type of systems in Caves of Qud. Like I'm thinking of modular design. I'm thinking of modules that are kind of like little cards as we're designing new content for Qud all the time.
Yeah.
And I think I've been less pulled as a mechanical player to Magic than I am interested in the way it's telling stories, right? Like the kinds of decks I build are often too thematic to be really good, right? Like I really liked early Elder Dragon Highlander, which was developed like down the street from our house, right? Like in that Magic store. So we were playing it in like 2005 or 2006. Just such an amazing thing. But you could tell stories with those decks. Who's your commander that you're picking? Obviously, it's become the most popular thing ever. But even very early, you're like, I can put 75 cards in this deck, and I can tell a story with the cards that I'm choosing, and that's going to play out against somebody else's story deck, right? Like, oh, they have this fantasy of being a dragon wizard, and I'm going to be, like a shape-shifting power blob, and how do they interact, right? Like,
right. No, you guys, between the two of you have basically nailed exactly what I love the most about this game, which is like, for instance, my commander deck, my pet deck, every deck I build is built under the thesis sentence of a story that it's trying to tell. Like the whole point of my decks are like, they're all seeds for a story that I want to explore. Like my pet deck is a soldier's deck that uses Tissot from Dragon's Maze. He's basically just like, he sits there, he's got indestructible. When he attacks with his friends, he gets +5/+5. But the entire deck is made up of soldier tokens and soldier token makers and like things that buff soldiers. They're only soldiers except for one cleric, because you always need to have a medic in your army. And I call it like, it's basically the premise is like, these are the ghosts of dead soldiers who are going from plane to plane to try to restore justice, to amend for whatever mistakes they made in their life in order to attain whatever their salvation might be. And it's just this wandering army of soldiers who just shows up somewhere and fights for justice and dies. And then on the other side, every game of Commander you play, there's 4 decks which are entirely, maybe this combination of decks has never been seen before. Your decks are entirely randomized, and I don't play tutors specifically because I want the experience of every game to be as different as possible. The more random and chaotic, even though I know all 100 cards are in there, I don't know how they're going to interact with these other 3 decks. I may never have seen these interactions. I might play a card and you have a card in play, and I'm like, wait, does that mean I win? That is like my favorite moment in the game, when it's just like, these two cards were printed 24 years ago apart and are in different colors and have no business ever showing up at the same time. Yet because of this one particular procedural instance that will never be repeated, something dumb just happened. And that is, it's like the synergy of those two ideas, which is like what really drives me in this game, I think.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
like Magic Arena, it really wants you to play like red deck wins to do your dailies, right? I can't do that. So my brawl deck is instead an Ajani Planeswalker deck, which is still really nasty, but I only let myself put cats or things with Ajani in it. So it's still nasty, but when you die, you just got beat by a board full of cats to like a cat instant, right? and like the fact that you can do that in Magic and not just be like, oh, this is my mechanical deck. You can of course play that way, but I find it more satisfying to beat someone with all cats, right? Still a powerful deck, right? Like I picked the right cats, but you know, like you can get the flavor in there is the part. Well, yeah. It's part of the thing you're doing.
I think sometimes people, for a while, people are surprised sometimes to hear that Caves of Qud is a narrative game, because some people read it just as this like tactical roguelike, really difficult. You're doing this dungeon crawl. But I think
I was really surprised at how much story there is in this game.
There's a lot of story, and there's also just a lot of like, even when it's not story, it's just like vibe and like flavor and right. And because I think we're drawn to this sort of thing where the kind of colliding systems and the real crunchy numbers that act as sort of like a physics for the world produce like through their combination a sort of like almost like nonfiction, a sort of like weird outcome that that we didn't author and that no one really could predict, but is now like rich on its own terms, and it comes from the numbers, but it has this whole other layer of thematics and mood that you can read it through, which is really compelling.
And I mean, I'll say we've won a couple awards, and they're both narrative, right? Like it's we've got Jason and Kaylin, who are both incredible writers, and then taking a very literary sensibility and skill and layering that into a bunch of procedural systems has ended up with us winning IGF narrative and a Hugo Award, which is like incredible.
That's so wild, man.
It doesn't make sense, right? Like still stunned by that, but it speaks to, I think, like that the stories that game is telling is ultimately the thing that people walk away from and think about more than anything else. It's not the weird monster. Like we do a lot of fun stuff, but ultimately it builds stories that people tell about themselves, right? Like about their own character and the way that the world relates to their character in a really novel way, right? Like, and I think that's really the heart of why the game is interesting.
Yeah, like I love that kind of game that allows me to procedurally tell my own story as I'm going through the game. Like that's part of why, like, I mean, like the games it's weird. I play a lot of JRPGs and stuff where the story's already fixed, but the Dungeons and Dragons aspect of it, like, let me be the genesis of this story. And like, for instance, when I play Civ, half of the fun for me is like procedurally telling a story of like, what happens if Hammurabi was the leader of China and like, founded Chinese Islam? Like, what does that mean? What story does that tell? And that's the sort of thing that like, I realize I'm a little off like the path here to with this stuff, but I love when games allow you to explore this kind of just bizarreness. And like every time I read like patch notes or like people's quotations from Qud, it's just like, and I fell in love with the faucet of like flaming asphalt down below. I'm like, what the hell is happening in this game? And the fact that I can drink flaming asphalt is, I don't know.
Just like real life.
Dude, it's like, it was funny. Like I was playing yesterday and I got caught into this like brackish pit of like slimy blood or something that got onto my shoes, and then suddenly the trees around me are all covered in blood. I'm like, what's happening?
It is sometimes a gross game.
Yeah,
it's very often a gross game. Yeah, it's very
often comment on how wet and sticky Qud ends up being.
And yeah, for a game that literally feels like it's made out of ASCII characters, right, it is hard to get a gross looking ASCII characters. Yeah, I don't know. It reminds me of playing ZZT so much in such a weird, memorable way. But yeah, like it is, You guys really do just like throw people into the deep end. You're like, suddenly you talk to a guy and now this people you've never met before hate you. And you're like, what, who the hell what is going on? How does, but,
well, I think part of why we are so long lived is that we like pull the rug out from under you several times, and you have not yet done. Have you beaten Golgotha, for example, or not yet? No,
dude, I am still in the first town, man. I've died like 4 times.
It like the floor opens underneath you many times throughout the course of the game in a couple ways that is only really possible because we've been working on it for 20 years. And so in some ways you're getting different people building the next part of the game, because us at 27 is different than us at 37 is different than us at 47, right? And so as you progress through the game, we not only become like weirder gremlins as people, but we get a bigger team. The team gets better at working with each other, and we get more and more tired of just making a normal game. And so by the end, we're really doing some like very inadvisable stuff with video games. And I think people really like the fact that like the more you invest in this game, you'll get the payoff of seeing that trip of 20 years of development. That the earliest stuff we really made when we like that, the first towns and the first dungeons we really made when we were 27, and the mid game we really made in our 30s, and the final scenes we made just at the peak of a half dozen people delivering incredibly good art. You're saying that I need to like suffer through hours and hours and hours of like mindless death grind to get to the really interesting stuff at the very end of the game? I'm just saying that for each of the horrible suffering periods that you go through, you can hope to be rewarded with a token of our gratitude.
I hadn't realized that this game came out so long ago.
Yeah, I mean that's what we started working on it almost 20 years ago. 2007 is when like development really began. And we put out an early beta on the Something Awful forums in 2010. And then came on Steam in 2015. So it's been, even then, even in its inception, it was recalling an earlier era of gaming and had a retro feel. That's part of what makes it not like outdate itself, because was never trying to be modern in any sense, and so it always feels sort of ambiguously located in the past. But I do think sometimes people are like, sometimes people are like, why is there no meta progression in the game? And like part of that is a design sort of principle of ours, but also be like back in 2007 when you were playing roguelikes, this meta progression was not really a thing. That was
invented that yet.
Yeah,
that was still in the future.
So we're kind of like bringing forward both some like ideas from the deep computerized past of like
Diablo 1 had meta progression, and that was a roguelike kind of.
Oh, did it? I don't think it did it.
No, I guess it didn't. It didn't. You died and then you started over.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Oh, I guess I should explain to the audience what a roguelike is, since we're now 33 minutes into the show. So Caves of Qud. All right, actually, why don't you guys describe it? If you were going to explain Caves of Qud to somebody, what is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things. I think you could like, so in one thing is it's a traditional roguelike. Roguelike is a term that's become quite broad and to mean a lot of things, but typically it's some kind of combination of what's sometimes called these mutually reinforcing design patterns of having a randomized content, procedurally generated content. So your map looks a little different each time. Your world looks a little different each time, combined with some form of like punishing death, where so like you're reset to the beginning if you make a misstep. Yes. But that's kind of okay because the new world you're going to see is a little different, right? That's kind of like the broad roguelike concept as it's kind of become to be, definitional. Before that, it meant a kind of more specific thing of like, you are using very simple, often ASCII characters.
Yeah, based on the old game Rogue.
Based on the old game Rogue, which just was like piped right to the console and just didn't have graphics and would use the letter, the ampersand or the @ sign to represent a player and a B to represent a bat. And you're walking around a little 2D grid-like dungeon. You have, typically the monsters and creatures are kind of modeled with similar logic so that the game roguelikes very, very typically don't are kind of mean to their players, or at least deprivilege the player character as like a particularly important entity in the world.
Deprivilege the player character is so
That
good.
is so
That's a bullet point on the box.
Prepare to be deprivileged.
That is such a deep design idea. But basically what it is that you, the player, are not important. You are not the hero as much. I mean, you're the hero, you're the protagonist, but like a game like Mario, the game is centered on you all the time. A game like Rogue or NetHack or Angband does not give a crap who you are. The dungeon will survive after you die. And like if we go into deep tangent, I think of Civilization as a roguelike as well, but that's like also way in the, because every time you start the new game, it's a brand new procedural map, there's brand new things going on, and the enemies kind of act vaguely the same, but it's like for me the core idea of a roguelike is it's all about the player. Like, it's not about the character is leveling up, it is the player is leveling up. As in, like, when I grind through Mario and I jump and I hit the Goomba and I die. Then I go and I jump and I'm like, oh, if I jump on the Goomba dies. Then I go and I fall into a pit. Next time I wake up, I jump on the Goomba and then I jump over the pit. And each step of the way, you are learning. The game has not changed. You die, you start over from scratch. But in a roguelike, for instance, it's the same thing. When I started Qud, I walked out into the woods somewhere. I got hit by this weird slug thing and I died. Next time I was like, okay, let me not go and hit that slug thing. What if I try to use this rifle that I have and fire and shoot it? Cool, it died. Okay, I moved a step forward and now there's a big ogre and that ate me. I'm like, oh, this is bad. And so like the idea is that yes, there's levels and you grow as a character and stuff, but the real meat of the game is every time you sit down to play a new instance of it, the game starts at the same 0. You, the player, can cheat and learn the tricks you need to know to be able to do it. Like in Castlevania 2, there's this like weird, bizarre clues that you get from the like NPCs in the game. Where like, kneel down to get into the cavern or whatever. You don't need to get those clues once you know it. You, the player, can just say, I know how to take this item to this place, and if I duck here, it'll take me up over the cliff to this castle. Or like you're playing any game where you can just kind of cut through this place and speed run and do like the walk around. You, the player, have learned it. The game itself still has a linear progression, whatever you want to do.
Yes. I think this is really important, actually. And I think we've kind of, it's kind of in vogue in video game design, at least, to say like, well, we understand this concept that the player is progression, like their mental models are changing, they're getting better, they're building skills. We have the ability to kind of like inject that progress into the game itself, into the systems of the game, into the mechanics, into the progression tracking. And so there's kind of this impulse to do that. Well, hey, you're getting better. Like, you've played the time. We want to show that you've put the time into this game in the game. But I think there's actually a really nice divide to draw there, where the game is kind of this immutable object. And like this sort of progression lives within me and within my friends and the community, and that's okay, right? I think that's I think that's as a ritual. When we come back to these activities, when I go back to play a Magic, I shuffle my deck again and I draw 7 cards, right? Like it doesn't need to remember everything about my experiences, because that's what the people are for. That's what the community is for. I think like we sometimes get so kind of drawn to the power of computation that we want to do everything in the computer, but a lot of the work can be very like meaningfully done by the people.
Yeah, it's funny because like I was talking to my son the other day about like the value of writing and reading in technology, because like he's in like middle school and he's like, I don't want to write essays. Why do I have to do this and stuff? And I'm like, well, you're learning about Hammurabi and about the Sumerians. And the big thing that the Sumerians did was create writing. And by creating writing, that meant that every time somebody wanted to have a wheel or a wagon or something, they didn't need to reinvent the wheel from scratch. They had this log of data of people who've come before and say, hey, if you take this round piece of wood and just stick a spoke through it, your wagon can go forward. And like, that's what I look at, like, when I see like wikis and stuff for like roguelikes or whatever, I'm seeing the collective experience of society teaching me how to walk forward in this game without dying every step of the way.
Yes. No, we tell a story a lot. One of the games that inspired us a lot was Ancient Domains of Mystery, an early roguelike by Thomas Biscup from the 90s, all ASCII. And, I think famously was pitched to me as a game so complicated you needed a guidebook to play it, which today in design circles, that would be very bad. That would be taboo to like try to rely on the games are so quickly trying to get you fluent in their metaphors and their rules. And to me, that's great. Like, you're right. Like, I love the idea that I have to go engage with this community. It's a balance, right? If I'm just going to look up every single thing and it's annoying and I don't think.
Yeah, like I don't want to do it too much.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, hey, tell me what armor does.
Yeah. Or like, I love when there's something about like, there's my favorite page on the Caves of Qud wiki, which is a player maintained wiki, it's all player run, community run, is just the page that lists all the different ways you can instantly die. And it's like, you could be evaporated, you could be turned into a gemstone, you could be, and it's the type of thing I know if I could dislodge myself from having made this game, if I found that page, I would fall in love with the game. That's like exactly the experience I want people to have in making this game.
You lose your last remaining head to decapitation.
Yeah.
That tells you so much of a story right there. Your last remaining head.
Yeah, there's so much going on in that subject.
That's some magic card templating right there, right? That's like
there's like I mean there's something about I love when there's one line of text that just blows up into this whole story and you're like, there is layers here going on. What is going on? That's insane. Yeah, I mean some of these deaths.
I mean, there's a little bit of this going on in early Magic, and I think it got thrown away pretty quickly. But like Rock Hydra, right?
Yes.
Rock Hydra's text says put X +1/+1 counters, parentheses heads on Hydra.
Heads.
Like that's so good, right? Like
it is one of my all-time favorite cards because there's like also, warriors can't or cowards can't block warriors, right? Like the famous line of text, and it's like,
right.
What? That's so good. Or the land continues to burn, which is there's an enchantment from like Alara block or something like that where it like puts a burn counter on things and you take damage for persistent. And it's like, if this enchantment leaves play, the land continues to burn. Beautiful. You know exactly what that means. And I'm like, oh, dude, that's so. But like in Alpha, man, like when you read some of these things, it's just like they cared so much about the narrative through play. And there's some deep, deep value in that. Like that's the sort of thing that I get romantic about.
It's hard with Magic because I do feel there is like as myself who is both like I can get very spiky. I was like into tournaments for a while. I was like trying to get on the Pro Tour, et cetera, but also I love the kind of like more creative side as well. It's like it's a hard tension sometimes because I think later Magic as a game did improve a lot of things, and some of the streamlining was quite good. And it enabled some play that I think has become really amazing that wasn't there originally. And at the same time, missing the sort of age of discovery.
Yes,
a lot of this stuff was kind of like more open. It's like,
but like you could you could say +1/+1 counters heads. And that's a kind of thing cards could interact with, right? Like if there's like you could have a character that will if it deals damage, and if it deals damage, all heads are removed from a card, right? Like you could totally do that. Magic decided not to. I don't think there's a reason why they did, right? Like I think there's a certain fear in removing heads from that card that shows. And I think that if any Magic designers are listening to me, you could stop this cowardice and return to naming the +1/+1 counters as different kinds of things.
It's the same way like with like Hive tokens being like you make little wasps or Triskelions. They make like the little the Tetravis makes the little 1/1 counters into Tetravites, right? Like but I mean I think they still do it on occasion. Like one of my favorites is there's a card called Eye Gouge from Theros block, which basically is like target creature is -1/-1 until end of turn. If it's a Cyclops, destroy it. Get it? Because you're gouging the eye out. It's like, I don't know. I find trinket text like that is what really endears me to a game and what makes me actually want to like really, bite into it and be like, look at this. You guys, you care about, there's a layer of whimsy, but also a layer of narrative flow. That's like some people are just like, oh man, it's just BS. Like they revealed a card for April O'Neil's news team for the Team Initial set. And it's called like Action News or Action Team or whatever it is. But on the card, the mechanics of the card, they use the mechanic channel. And it's to channel it, you have to pay 6 mana because April O'Neil works for Channel 6 News. It's her truck.
That's
and I'm
funny.
like, that is Or like Chun-Li when they did the Chun-Li card and her card's power is multi-kicker. Are you kidding me? That is like so perfect. Like, come on.
That's fun.
The one that got me, Ryu. Ryu has on his card, like untap it and pay a red mana to do an ability. But when you look at the way the untap symbol is shaped on the icon itself, untap plus red is quarter circle plus a punch Hadouken.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is layers of thinking that like is so perfect that it's like it just it hurts to think that we've gone 30 years without having cards that could be like that.
One of the things that like strikes me as weird, and I don't fully understand the history behind it, is that coming back to Magic after many years, there were a set of tokens that would kind of became canonical in Magic. So you've got like treasure, which is fine. Okay, you've got treasure, that makes sense. But then the other like major canonical token is food, which is like it's such a funny, very like grounded thing to have in your high wizard games that like I'm creating or finding treasure, or I'm making food like pie tokens. It's like
I love that though, because like in D&D, one of my favorite Magic items ever is Mergen's spoon of something, which basically just creates a giant flood of oatmeal. And it's like, it's just a flavorless mush that you need to eat. And I don't know, for me, there is something about like the mundane survivalness of like a game like D&D or Magic or something, or like any role-playing game that I love. Like when I have to carry a 10-foot pole and a rope and a jar of oil to oil the doors to be able to open the thing, to like, people are like, oh man, it gets fiddly. And I'm like, yeah, like most people abstract out to, I don't care what's individually in my spell pouch. I just have a spell pouch. I'll just cast spells. Who cares? I'm like, but no, I want to have the piece of fur and amber that I rub together to make lightning bolt. Like that is like, for me, having to get bat guano that I then throw that turns into a fireball because bat guano is where sulfur comes from, which is where saltpeter. And, you know, like that's the sort of like immersion that just really like, so like when in Magic, when it's like, okay, look, I've got this guy who can, when it comes to play, and I put out a land, I can either get a treasure or a food. This is like the Dungeons and Dragons choice right there, right? Like this, like, do I want material wealth or do I want to live? And I'm like, I love that choice. I think it forces you into this really interesting decision. And I mean, you guys do it in Qud. Like my currency is the water I have to drink. Like I have to give you my water, which I need to live in order to buy crap from the dude. And it's like, what is the crap? I don't know, but it costs you 45 water units. I'm like, God damn it. I don't want this piece of garbage. Yeah, I don't know. I just like that trade-off is so interesting. It's so immersive. It's so like just gives the game such heft and resonance. And I think like when Magic added like, you know, treasure, blood, food, and like these other like clues and like just these other non-artifact tokens that just kind of sit there, it just, I mean, people are like, man, your table gets super cluttered. I'm like, yeah, it does. But it's also, it's giving me a narrative that I can grab onto and tell.
I guess it makes sense. It makes sense because they're representations of a sort of material world that you already have representations of mana and spells and summoning creatures, but there's in land, right? But you don't have indicators of sort of the non-magic world, and so all those tokens are kind of tied thematically to material goods.
Like right? I've just always been mad that Magic doesn't have potions. Yeah. Or like wand, like we've moved away from having things like rods and wands, and I want magic items that feel like magic items. You know, it's like I want to have a potion.
Yeah, it's funny that artifacts became this sort of like catch-all class for that stuff. Like food is an artifact.
An artifact is more like a factory than like it used to be like a rod of ruin. I pointed at you, you lose something out of your brain that like zaps the memory out of your skull or something, right? And now it just like, it's a giant laser that shoots things if I cast 38 spells. I'm like, fine, whatever. I get it. I don't know. I'm old manning right here. So then I guess we should talk briefly about like, why did you guys decide to make this game? Like you graduate college and you're like, hey, we used to be friends. Let's go and make a roguelike again.
It's like, it's one of like we made games so much, and we made a lot of them, and like Qud is the one that kind of like
Stuck.
out of the primordial goo became life, right? Like there's just a lot of stuff going. At the time we were making Qud, we were actually trying to make a tabletop game with its old rule set in kind of like the world, cut one corner of which became the setting for Qud. We were making a little web game where like a little like turn limited trade wars like web game. And so, I think there are a lot of factors that went into it. We were really enamored with, all of the things we've talked about early games. We were also seeing like Dwarf Fortress had come out sort of recently. Brian for a long time had been working on roguelike engines and kind of had just cracked the code to like really enable the type of, modular combination that Qud's design needed to really flower. So like a lot of things just came together, and we made this specific game among several others we wanted to make, and it took off.
Cool. I mean, it has gained quite a community and quite a life of its own. It's pretty huge. And I remember when I was talking to some friends, I'm like, I might have a chance to talk to the Qud guys, and they're like, oh God. And I'm like, should I play it? And they're like, you were going to hate this game so much. And I'm like, it's because like I'm like, I don't normally play these kinds of games a lot, but and like, honestly, like the first few rounds I played, I was just like, this is going to be a misery farm for me. I hate this. What's going on? But I have this thing where I'm like, oh no, I paid money for this now. I got to play this. I got to figure it out. And, it's really like, it got to the point now where I'm like, it feels like I'm losing hours. Like I haven't felt like that since I first got like Civ or Star Controllers, one of my other canonical games from 1,000 years ago. I'm like, holy crap, I haven't jumped into a game head first like this in a long time. I will say this: I wish the colors were brighter. I am an old man and my eyes are bad. Please stop hurting me.
Yeah, you can't adjust the brightness and contrast, and there is like a display.txt where you can straight up change the baseline colors.
Yeah, like I'm gonna find a way to mod it so that it looks like the old like roguelikes and stuff, where it's like the map is yellow and the characters are green and blue and very like clear.
Oh, you totally can. There are mods out there that swap the palette out.
I wonder if anybody's actually made a mod of this that turns it back to like Eggman style, like ASCII or something.
You could turn it. You can disable the modern UI entirely, and it is a full up text based ASCII game.
That would be
options.
So
yeah,
funny.
That's just all in the options.
That's built in the
supported.
Game. Yeah. Turn off if you turn off tiles and turn off the modern UI, you are playing a straight up 1980s style text based roguelike.
God, having code this game must be such a pain in the ass.
Oh, it took 20 years. Everything about this game is a pain in the butt.
Not gonna lie, Brian, I love reading your updates when you're like, yeah, I have to port this to like Steam and to the Switch and whatever, and like you're like, why did I do this to myself?
Everyone likes my misery posting. It's one of everyone's favorite posts. It's how horrible of a time I'm having right now with technology.
So let's see here. Tell me about your experience with like when did you guys come back to Magic, or like what do you like to play now?
Yeah, I it's probably actually, I've not played much recently. I think so like I said, we were like really active back in like Fallen Empires, Legends, up through like maybe Tempest or a little later. Then we came back hard for Kamigawa and went pretty hard through, like we played original Ravnica, we played Infinite of. I
mean, it's the best of all time, right?
Yeah, original Lorwyn. We were playing a lot on Magic Online too. A lot of Elder EDH. More recently, I mean, main way I engage with it now is occasionally I'll come and play Vintage Cube. Vintage Cube is my favorite format. I love it. It's so good. I've always preferred limited. I've always been like a limited fiend. So yeah, I mean, now I just play.
I love Vintage Cube.
Drafting Storm, doing ridiculous broken things and annoying my opponents. Brian, you've played a little like Brawl and stuff recently on Arena, and the Arena.
Yeah, I play a good amount of Arena nowadays, so I get on and play my games. I like the new. I guess the Spider-Man, what it seems like to me, and I have no private information here, but what it seems like is the Spider-Man set did not do well, and so
No.
they had in their back pocket they had a power cube for Arena, and they brought that out, and it is very fun to play in Arena because I just find Magic Online takes too long for my old man lifestyle. And Arena is beautiful. I can sit down and I like to just start my day with like an hour of playing my 4 games of Magic. I'll do like a power cube draft and get 3 wins and be like, great, that was a good way to get my brain started. And so like I really like power cube. I've been playing the latest sets, right? Like Avatar. I like I came back what was the set right before Avatar?
Right before Avatar was Edge of Eternities.
Yeah. So I guess I came in Avatar. And so I've been playing Avatar and Power Cube, and
I mean, Avatar is also a great set.
I really liked Avatar.
Incredibly well designed.
I feel like it might have been too fiddly in on paper. Like there's a lot of just like fiddly mechanics where like you're airbending stuff and putting a million tokens and stuff, but in digital it works great.
Yeah.
And I've also, my kids are now they have a little tribal get together where they're getting all the kids to play card games. So they got a bunch of Pokemon and Magic players, and I got my kids to like Magic Commander decks. Nice. And got them playing Commander. So now my kids are playing Commander with me on the weekends at a local to get together.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I love games like this. I love storytelling. I love games that allow me to express myself in a way that is like, that's one thing. Like I love watching tournament Magic, and I get super frustrated with it because the games are so like divorced from this. Like there's no story when I'm playing a combo deck in a 60 card game of Magic. I'm just like, I just need to get your life to 0 or whatever it is. Except it was really funny. The last Pro Tour ended with a deck that basically exiles the entire deck except for the bottom 6, and then uses a land that mills your for 4 every time it attacks to just kill you. And I'm like, okay, that's really cute and reminds me of the old days. But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it's its own type of story, right? I think it's like the multiplayer, like the tournament scene and the PvP stuff. Like it becomes its own, dynamical narrative that lives on top of this other one. And that, the stuff that's actually coming out of like the card flavor and stuff is often not shining through there. Occasionally it does, and occasionally you go like I like games that are rich enough to support those different modes, right? Like we can like think through what's happening with like Amulet Bloom and that combo, like making your opponent like sign a death pact that they can't pay for, which is really beautiful and flavorful. And then like you're kind of forgetting that when in the actual tournament scene data, I don't know, like keying between those two modes like is a lot of fun. And I think that the fact that the game is so rich and can support both those modalities is like really
totally does. You still call a red deck a slide deck, right? Like lots of people do that and have no idea why, right? But that's just like individual tournament players in the very first Magic tournaments inventing red deck buttons, right? So like
I don't know. I love the deep lore like that when it's just like this is just it's cephalid breakfast. Why? It just is. Relax. Just accept it. Don't ask. Like, we don't need to know why this is called Nick Fit. It just shut up and deal with it. But yeah, man, this has been a great talk. Thank you so much for joining me today. I don't know. I'm enjoying your game a lot, and I'm really glad you guys were able to come on. If folks wanted to find you or your game or whatever it is, where could they go?
You can find us mostly on cavesofqud.com. That all links to the games. I'm on Blue Sky is on normal if you want to like have somebody who posts way too much on your feed.
They already follow me, dog. You can't post more than I do.
Yeah, I'm jfg.land on Blue Sky. If you want less posting, come my way. And game just came out on Switch this week, actually. So if
this is going to come out a month from now. So
okay, this game came out on Switch 1 week and 1 month ago. If you're, I mean, a lot of people are like, don't play games on PC or whatever. And the thing that surprises people is that the game, despite being as complex as we've been talking about, actually plays extremely well on gamepad or handheld. Like
I'm really stunned at that, by the way. Like, when I heard that you guys are porting this to Switch after like having played this for like 3 or 4 days, I'm like, how? Like, there's so many like keys on the keyboard that do things. Like, I kind of want to play it on the Switch just to see what it looks like, and also because it would be more fun to actually sit and play on my TV instead of having to fiddle with my computer.
A lot of old keyboard players prefer the gamepad once they play it.
It's wild. I mean, I think I'm finally going to have to get a gamepad for my PC, having resisted it for 30 years. Deep sigh. But anyways, my friends, as always, you can find me on Blue Sky at Shivam.Bluesky, and you can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold or at YouTube every Tuesday, thanks to my editor, Dan. You can also hear me on the Shivam and Wheeler Love Magic podcast, where we sit and pick a set and talk about that set exhaustively for like 2 to 4 hours, and then go into bonus episodes to talk about more of the cards we forgot from the set. And you can also hear me on the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast, where we are very close to finishing Spring Dawning, the book 3 of Dragonlance. And as always, my friends, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.